Welcome to this week's episode of Awakening with Lily Rose. I am here with Jessica Rueger, coach, author, speaker, guide, and amazing friend. So thank you for joining me for this conversation, Jessica.
Thank you. I always look forward to it.
So today I have been in Paris for 4 weeks now. And yeah, can't believe time's flying by. It feels like it was just yesterday. I can't believe it's been 4 weeks. But a lot has been happening every single week. There's like new themes emerging and new experiences happening and meeting different people and having different interactions. And so today I thought we could just connect with the energy that is arising for both of us this week. Look at the real life situations that come up. I mean, just it's interesting that so many of us are asleep, really disconnected from our true power. We actually don't know the power we have. We're unwilling to accept the power inside us to create our lives.
Or even experiment with it for long enough for it to show us what is truly available without quitting before it gets really, really good and juicy and exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I have been really living in this dimension of, uncertainty, unknown, not knowing what the future will hold, but having certainty in one thing, which is that there is a divine higher intelligence that I don't fully understand and I don't need to fully understand, but that when I believe I am worthy of good things and believe that this divine intelligence wants to help me expand my life, myself, to be a more confident person, just more of who I'm meant to be, to really embody a fuller expression of myself. The doors open in miraculous ways, allowing me to do that. And just this last year has just been an amazing example of, taking big steps. I've been taking steps since I got divorced. I decided to get divorced, leave the church, even though I was going to become a single mom and I didn't have an income or anything. And I still chose that. And it was hard, yes, because I was still a baby spiritually. I still am, but I did not understand a lot of the concepts that I know now about how it works. It's actually really simple. Where focus goes, energy flows, and it's what we're focusing on and embodying energy, connecting with truth. I didn't know what truth was. I didn't know who I was. I had a lot of questions. And so, because of that, just looking back, I can see why it was so challenging. I was going back and forth in my mind. I'm worthy of this. No, I'm not worthy of this. Everyone's telling me I'm a disappointment and I'm on the wrong path. And so, my whole consciousness was so confused. And I was going back and forth in all this darkness and light, and then darkness and light. And then just coming to a point last year where everything aligned and certain teachers came in that almost like activated something really powerful in me, where I began to have certainty beyond logic in the divine because I was seeing evidence of it. And I chose to continue to trust that. And then that's when, I find myself on a flight to Paris. And then I'm spending the whole summer in Paris and everything's working out. And the money that I was going to put into a house now, I have that extra money. And it's like all these things were actually working. And I just found myself thinking, looking around, going, well, it's actually working. It's like, it's actually working out. This is such a miracle.
It's such a miracle and it's such a way of life. What I'm interpreting from both, our conversations and what we're both moving through is like this devotion to this energy. And as we engage with it, it's engaging with us and it becomes this relationship, this dynamic that we are contributing to and receiving from, and having that certainty that in that in the unknown, having a certainty in the unknown, that that is where the magic happens, and that's where many of us prefer to live once we've seen what's available in it. But until we have, it's just like I can't give up what I know to be true, because that is my whole identity. And I don't know who to be in this reality, but just like any other developmental stage in our life, we didn't know how to be until we learned how to be by experiencing it. And there alone is like this magnificent initiation into new territory, into these dimensions that are way more supportive and way more life giving, life affirming, and way more exhilarating. And then, of course, there's going to be something that distracts us from that. And it's interesting how we revert way back to like a version of us. Like, I want to ask you this question because have you done anything as hard as leaving the security, financial security, the relationship and the dynamic that you were in with your, not only your children's father as your husband, but also this whole community of people in the organization of the church that you were involved in? Like, have you done anything as hard as that?
No, that was a major breakthrough that was so challenging, and yet I knew it was right, and yet I was in devotion to the higher truth, and I trusted in the light and in my inner self that I was feeling guided. I just had to trust, even though I didn't know how it was going to work.
And do you notice that each time a big challenge arrives, aka opportunity, do you notice yourself either coming from this place, or do you notice yourself coming from a version of you before you left the church and the relationship? Like, do you notice how you and your clients tend to go like, it's almost like we forget everything we know in this moment, because it's like we're hijacked from who we are, and it feels like we're being thrown back into a former identity, and we're starting to perceive reality from that version of us instead of this version of us that built a freaking new foundation and
Yeah.
erected these incredible walls of support. And that's
Mm.
what's really becoming alive for me, is like, okay, we have so much access to so much truth and so much wisdom. What can we do to support ourselves re-engaging from now, from
Yeah.
this version of us?
I see with my clients that a lot of times they don't see the progress they've made, and I have to point it out to them and help anchor in this new identity that is the truth, but they're not really feeling it yet. They're, and for me, it kind of everything kind of clicked into this new identity last year, where I feel like I used to find myself pulled back into the old. And ever since like last year, I feel like it began with looking at the reality of who I was and how I was living and how I had been living and everything that I had been doing and everything it was so aligned, and I was aligning with my truth. And I said, I am now a person who fill in the blank. Like,
Mhm.
I'm a person who does follow my truth. And I just kept looking back to the past of all the examples of that. And I was like, why have I been in doubt of that? Why have I been falling back into this old version so much? So much doubt, so much falling back, when I am literally a person who follows my truth without seeing evidence of it, but connecting to something greater. That's just who I am. And when I really like anchored into that and really felt it, now I don't fall back as much into the other. It really feels like every day living here in Paris, my nervous system is relaxed. I'm not going into fear and panic. I'm really this is so aligned with who I am that it feels like I'm living the life I'm meant to live. This is just who I am. I just do this. I live in Paris. I have an apartment. Things just work out. Miracles find me. The right people come in, and it's all for my highest good. And then it is.
And then it is.
We can make the choice. Am I going to show up as my old self here and be disempowered and go into an old pattern that feels comfortable and familiar and it's easy? Or am I going to choose my power? And this happened to me several times this week. So I kind of want to just bring in a story here because when we make this real, then people can really see like what this looks like. So I have just been really open to the people coming into my life and curious and saying yes because I want to explore things. So I met a lot of friends actually lately. I've been going to these meetups and just platonic settings, friends. But then sometimes I will meet someone who asks me for coffee, who's a man, and it's a little ambiguous what their intentions are. And so there were these two examples lately of older men that asked me, that said they wanted to help me just as friends, just go to an exhibit or a coffee and they could help me with my French. And so always feel like people come into our lives for a reason. I want to explore maybe there's a deeper thing that we are meant to learn together or connect with. Our energy is meant to connect at this time for some reason. I was noticing that there's a part of me, an old part of me, that wants a father figure. My dad passed away 6 years ago. And even before that, I wasn't close with him. And I never really felt this like masculine presence in my life. And so I feel like there's a part of me that gravitates towards an older man that can take care of me in some way. And so this dynamic just kind of recently came in where here I am in Paris and several older men asked me to go, to connect. And here I am saying yes. And it turns out they wanted something romantic. And it was clearly not going to be romantic for me. And so I had the opportunity of, am I going to just continue this and say, well, I don't know where it's going, so I'm going to keep exploring it and and then get my internal part of me that wants to feel like there's a protector in my life, someone that wants to take me to dinner, someone like that, and that, yeah, and contributing to the ambiguity, which is not going to serve me or him. But it's an easy pattern for me to fall into, to not directly say I'm not interested, because what I know is that when I say that, they're going to drop out of my life. And then I'm going to lose that masculine presence that there's a part of me that feels like I'm wanting that. And so today I had two invitations to move forward for a second date is what it has turned into, where one of them especially proclaimed that he was attracted to me and it was an outward expression. And as much as I enjoyed his presence and enjoyed the interaction and got so much out of it, and I was able to practice my French and all these positive things that it was bringing into my life, I really had to be honest with myself that I didn't want to continue something that wasn't really in alignment with what I'm available for. And so what happened was those people just dropped out. So one of them just texted like right at the beginning of this call of his decision. Thank you, but no, thank you. Thank you for your honesty, and I'm going to move on. And it's just helping me to see that I can say no to a potential opportunity that feels like an opportunity, but that's actually not in alignment with what I truly want.
And it is an opportunity because look at the opportunities that you're getting to do now, which is to do things in a new way that eliminate as much ambiguity as you can and declare, not just to this man, but to Creator, what you're here for.
Yes, yes. My signal is becoming more clear now.
Yeah, and
And
it's affirming your worth.
yeah.
Whereas you might have hung around in the ambiguity to have someone else affirm your worth,
Mhm.
but what you're doing now is affirming your worth, which is so.
Yeah. And choosing to believe that I am worthy of what I want. And right, because saying no to something that is not fully in alignment with what I want is an act of trust, self-trust, saying, I do believe that what I want is out there. And so many of us fall into, well, this is good enough for now. And maybe, that's actually what happened when I got married. It was someone saying that he loves me and not really connecting with my own heart and being honest with myself. And it wasn't in it. My heart was not in it. I knew, I just didn't listen. I didn't have the awareness, I didn't have the ability to make that choice in that way. I wasn't at the level that I am now in my ability to hear and follow my intuition. So I love myself, my old version, and I'm grateful for her and everything that, she did to just be the best that she could be. And I had my kids, and I was just always the best mom I could be and everything. But every moment, I'm becoming a new person. And just taking these steps right now is helping me to let go of the old me even more, the old patterns, and really just embody this new version in a more clear way and opening myself up to what is meant for me that is aligned with what my heart truly desires and believing that's possible.
Talk about collapsing the time.
Yeah.
Like that really expands on that idea of how we collapse time. And also, to be fair, and I don't know why, I just really want to speak to this, is like when there's ambiguity in the beginning, I'm going to take you out and teach you French. Okay, cool. And yeah, there's probably already an attraction there. And what a gift it is for them to receive the clarity soon.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's powerful. It's just
Mhm.
a powerful way to be in the world. It's a powerful way to be for you in your life. It's a powerful way for you to be in these interactions with these other people that you're meeting. It's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you. And
Celebrating you in
yeah.
this way of being, boundaries. We often prickle when we hear the word boundaries, but they're really, it's an internal, energetic boundary that gets to be expressed from this place of truth, not necessarily protection, but from this place of life, you can just be like, hey, this isn't aligned with my truth. And I'm seeing that and I'm honoring that. And now I get to put voice to that and articulate that and communicate that way in the cleanest way possible
Mhm.
so that we can, not to bring up Vipassana again, but I'm going to bring up Vipassana again because the only other set of rules are don't disturb anyone and don't let anyone disturb you.
Mhm.
And so you're articulating yourself in the cleanest way that you possibly can in this level best in a
Mhm.
way that doesn't cause unnecessary harm or
Yeah.
disturbance in another human being. It's just honest.
So I just want to share, this is so interesting because one of the guys the second guy that I had to share this with him today, it just came up that there's these two today that I had to make a decision about because one invited me to a dance on Valentine's Day.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, that sounds so fun. And I would love to go have a fun time, but he needs to know I'm not his Valentine's date and it's not a romantic thing for me. So I had to really express it. I want to share a few things that he said because this shows how important it is for us not to waste their time. And he said, thank you for being so honest. I respect your decision to put the ticket back on sale because he bought this ticket without asking me, without a confirmation. I mean, he said, if you don't want to go, I'll always just put it back on sale. And I said, this is where I'm at. I can't. And then he said, thank you. And then he said, it's a shame. I really enjoyed our connection. And then he said, and I'm lucky, after a few other things, he said, and I'm lucky not to have bought yet any diamonds. Ha ha ha.
How cute.
Right? And so I'm just looking back at my life of the times when I have continued things that I knew were not right for me. And they did buy me diamonds and they did, things that were more expensive and there was more investment, financial investment in me. And that started freaking me out and causing this imbalance because it wasn't fully in alignment. And that energy was not a healthy dynamic. I just didn't know how to handle it at the time. Now I do. And it really is as simple, like we're talking about, as noticing my truth and just expressing it. That's all.
One of the things that stand out right now in this moment, what would you say if you were being completely honest with yourself and you knew that no one would get hurt? Because I think that we don't want to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
also sometimes will project our own fear of being hurt. And I think that's what really contributes to a lot of the ambiguity. And so
Yeah.
we deny our own truth and lead
Yeah.
people on so that we don't hurt them. But what is leading them on doing? Actually, it's like it's all energy.
I want to share this other example. The other one said he wanted something more, and then and then I said I wasn't comfortable, and he said, well, never mind. I can just be friends. I'm willing to show up platonically with you. And I was like, and he also shared some other things that showed me it was going to be a very messy energy. He wasn't fully in alignment with himself. Like he wanted more, and he's going to say, well, just friends. But no, it actually wasn't. And so I had to say, I actually don't feel like I can even be friends right now. And that was hard because we all want to say that, well, I'll just be friends. It's like a way of not hurting someone's feelings. Let's just be friends. But I actually even had to just be honest with myself that it wasn't right to stay meeting up with him because I knew there wasn't a different motivation. Even though he was suppressing it, it was still there. And I had to really just be in integrity with that truth.
Like just to be able to see that playing out, to be able to be sensitive enough to recognize the sensations that are happening that are showing you this is a no.
Yeah.
And so my work here is to articulate that.
Yeah.
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 Maintaining integrity is so important when we're doing
And,
this work. It's like,
and yeah, I just want to point out that a lot of times it's like the universe, everything is so intelligent, this energy that you will be tested with the thing that is actually going to test you the most. Like one of the guys brought me to the best chocolate place and just got me a box of the most beautiful chocolates that were made in that factory. And then just saying, well, we could go to all these beautiful hotel restaurants. Would you like to go to these beautiful, like high-end places with me next time? And just putting out all these things that like I've already wanting to do. And it's so tempting to when you have a person who's inviting you to actually trust yourself and actually say, I'm going to say no to this because I believe something more in alignment will come. Yeah.
yeah, that's raising the standard so that you can meet it.
And I want to just touch on one more experience I had this week with the opposite dynamic where I was interested and I had to say no to that. So, sometimes you're not interested and you have to, it's very tempting and they're offering you all these things that might be good, but you're not interested. It's a little easier than when your heart really loves someone and you have to put down a boundary and say, this person can't show up for me in the way that I need. And I had a conversation. So this is the guy that I was dating last summer, and then we stayed in touch while I went home. But it was really just, we'll just see how things go. It wasn't like a committed, exclusive relationship. We're just going to be open. We don't know. Let's just be open to the energy of how this goes when I move back. And the first week, I could see some things that caused me to feel like I didn't want to continue. And so I was able to take space and just, tell him that and then just move on. And then this week, I asked him for that I still needed to get my stuff that was still at his house, stuff that I wasn't able to pack in my suitcase when I went back, and I just left it with him because I knew I'd come back, and I had to reach out to him and ask him. And so what happened was he put it at the hotel where we met, where he actually still works a few nights a week. And I went there last night to go pick it up. And I stepped in, and I was actually with this other guy that I just had to say no to today. We were all just walking around, and I remembered, and we happened to find ourselves there, and I remembered, oh, I'm actually supposed to pick up my bag today, and here we are. We happened to find ourselves there. So he came in with me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of feeling. There's a lot of energy coming in. I'm walking into this hotel, and there's another guy with me. It's so weird. And I got my bag, and I left, and we went to dinner after that, and then I went home with my bag. And then it brought up a lot on the way home. I was feeling really emotional. It was like closure is really happening. And it brought up, even just in communicating with him, that a lot of doubt of like, was that the right thing? Did we even have a full conversation? Did we both share our truth? We actually didn't. And I think there were assumptions made, but I was a little bit unsure of, did I make the right assumption that this wasn't going to work? Did I really give him the chance to express himself? And that didn't happen. I just made an assumption, and it just ended pretty abruptly. And we never had a full conversation where we were sharing our true feelings. And so it came back into my life, and I was feeling all these feelings and really missing him and that connection that we had that was so deep. Like we really shared, when you get into those kinds of relationships, it can feel like you're really being vulnerable and really connecting on a deeper level. And I felt like I didn't want to just walk away from all of that, and maybe we didn't fully have the conversation we needed to have. And so when I opened up my bag, I found two of his things in it. And I was like, this whole time I'm on the metro, like crying, thinking that that's it. I'm never going to talk to him again. And now there's these two items of his. And it brought me into this place of, is this really done? And is there more that we need to express?
Well, it sounds like you've entered into some more unknown, reviving this experience that you shared. And what I'm interpreting is like there was so much sacredness in that. And it seems like the ending was a bit abrupt and, to your word, presumptuous. And what I'm hearing from you, and because I know you, that there's some reverence and honor for what it was that would perhaps be more of a closure that could allow you to end it with the same reverence that you experienced it.
Yeah.
Or whatever, ending it is not necessarily the most accurate word. It's more like changing the form of what it was to what it is.
Yeah. I would have wanted to have more of a sharing intentionally, like really honoring like where we're both at. This was just a really meaningful connection. And I wanted to share this, I remember, because I just was talking to a friend of mine who had a similar experience with a very deep connection with someone. He wasn't showing up for her in the way she needed. There was no continuous communication outside of just seeing each other, and they would feel good and they would kiss and there would be some physical intimacy. And there was a lot of like, I really like you feeling, but then there wasn't continuous texting, asking him out, her out for a date, like what she wanted in a relationship. And I think a lot of women, when we are believe and like feel more deeply who we are, we know inherently that we're worthy of a man who is going to see us and show up for us in that way. And so when someone doesn't, instead of saying, well, maybe it's an issue with me, or maybe I have to learn how to relax and not want so much, not be so needy, it can be helpful to talk to a friend about this so that they can point and they can really mirror to you who you are and what you're worthy of and see your value and that you really deserve a man who can show up for you in the ways that you really feel that you want in a relationship and that you're not too much. You're worthy of what you want and not to tolerate like the breadcrumbs.
Mhm. So much to unpack right now. This conversation because I had three things that just dropped in, and one was how can they know what you want if you don't express that so that they have an opportunity to see whether they can meet that need or not? We'll put that on the shelf.
Mhm.
Another was when we get intimate quickly in a relationship, we're not allowing ourselves to see how he shows up after we've
Mhm.
opened up and shared the most sacred part of ourselves. And then we see who he's showing up as. And I wonder what it would be like to see how he shows up before opening up and becoming and sharing that most sacred part of yourself. And that's just wow.
Completely agree. Yeah, I feel like these days with dating, what I'm seeing is that people go to intimacy like way too quick. Like it's just happening really fast because people want it. Maybe they're starved for connection. They're not, maybe they're lonely, and when there's this opportunity, the men will act on it and will take those steps, and the women may go along with it too because they like him and they are feeling the chemistry. So it's like it just happens so quickly. And now what I see is that really leaves us as women in a energetic, like almost like a depletion state. It could be awesome together. It could be amazing intimacy, but until you really know him and until he really starts showing up and you see if he really likes you or if it's just the physical, then we're already attached now. Our bodies are already attached to
Yeah.
him. So it makes it a lot harder for us as women. So that's why now I just am like I'm waiting. And it's just something that I personally am not engaging in because I know how that affects me and how attached I get to people when I experience that with them.
Beautiful. Yeah. And then the third thing came back online, which is notice how do I feel when I'm with him? How is my energy? Am I trying to perform? Am I trying to get him to like me? Am I trying to win
Mhm.
him over or am I relaxed? How's my energy when I'm with him? How's my energy when I'm not with him?
It's really good to think about all of this. I hope everyone's taking notes. I love that just about noticing your energy, and it's not supposed to be, if you're not supposed to feel anxious and feeling like you're not good enough and trying to be good enough for him. So if that's happening, it doesn't matter. You may feel a deep connection because that can be what's driving that feeling because you like him so much that you want him to like you back
And you'll do all
because
the
you like him.
gymnastics
Yeah.
and contorting yourself.
And just realizing that even if you feel such a strong connection with someone, it doesn't mean that you're soulmates, that you're meant to be together.
Forever.
Yeah. Yeah, or even at all, right? Because there were some of these guys that told me they felt a really strong connection with me. And one guy on the metro that we just like were smiling at each other. And I was like, wow, it's just really easy to smile at him. He keeps smiling at me. And that doesn't happen every day. All right, that's like an interesting connection. It's significant, it stands out. And we walked off the metro and we were just looking into each other's eyes and feeling like this really strong energy between us. And it's like, what is this? And then when we start talking, I start getting to know him. And he like puts his arm around me and is like going in to kiss me. And I'm like, that's not feeling aligned for me right now. People can feel so drawn to certain people, but it doesn't mean you're meant to, like he was saying, we need to get married and have kids. He was trying to express it in French and English and that's from God. Yes, you're going to be my woman. And I'm like, that doesn't feel right for me. The more I connect with myself, the more I see beauty and goodness in everyone. And when I see that in them, they feel like someone is seeing the good in them, and that feels good.
And they
And
are.
I, and I realized that that's what was happening. I was looking at him through this lens of I see how beautiful you are, and he wanted someone in his life that could see him that way, but it wasn't the person for me. It was just a person that I could see beauty in.
And so it's like really coming into like what is true for you in the moment, and can you allow yourself to be honest with yourself in your own mind, and can you act in courage and faith to be able to share your truth, and also be available for when it shifts, because there's not like we're not stagnant beings.
Yeah.
Again, we're moving in and out of different states of being. And what's beautiful is if when we do get to know somebody and decide that we want to go to the next steps with them, with however you guys decide that that's what it looks like, you guys get to make that agreement, right?
Yeah.
Um, is knowing that sometimes he's going to be in fear and you're going to be in love, and sometimes he's going to be in love and you're going to be in fear, and sometimes you're going to be in fear together, and sometimes you're going to be in love together, and that's just life.
As you were sharing that, I was just like smiling so big because in this text that I wrote out that I didn't send the whole thing to him, but I did send a little one that was just, if you're open to having a conversation, let me know. An honest conversation about where we're both at is what I sent to him. And I felt like I needed, not I needed, but that was just my choice. And I owned it. Like, I'm going to just send that. And whatever happens, happens. So in the long text, though, and I said, it's okay if you don't want to have an open conversation. He may have totally moved on emotionally and he's not even thinking about me. And so be it. But I didn't know. So I said, it's fine if you don't. But the long text that I wrote out that I didn't send to him was I was able to get out all my feelings. And the main thing that I was saying of expressing what I want is that we continue to choose love over fear. And
Mm.
we're so aligned in the way we see things, you and I, Jessica, because yeah, I really see a relationship as we're all going to have our fears that come up, and we just get to be present with them and keep turning back to love and be patient with each other when they're in fear. Maybe they're disconnecting or they're going through something or feeling like they need space, because I know I do. And this relationship that I just had was actually such a mirror for me. We're like a few days apart, birthdays, a few days apart, and both Sagittarius. And we're so similar in our need for space and freedom that I had actually never been with someone who mirrored me. And I was able to see myself and how I would be in a relationship with myself, like what it would be to be in a relationship with me, with people in the past that have been like, why are you so avoidant? Why are you just, I want to be with you all the time. And I'm like, get away from me. I feel like I'm suffocating. And so just to see and have compassion and understanding that, like, that's kind of how he is. He needs a space. And it just helped me to see, and that's what I want. Just that beautiful dynamic of I want to grow with someone where I can be in fear and we can see each other in fear, and then we just keep like supporting each other and coming back to love.
I mean, that's it. We go in and out of it. If we only stayed in love, we wouldn't recognize and value love.
Yeah,
So we go in and out to experience returning to love, re-engaging with love. And it's
yeah,
part of it's the human experience. And it's not wrong when we're in fear. It's honoring ourselves, whatever state we're in, and not making ourselves or the other wrong, hopefully. And then relationship begins to be like this collaborative, beautiful experience instead of competing for power or attention. We
as
can,
long as we're both willing to look at our stuff, right? And be on that journey and aware that we are all going to fall into the fear and not project it. Like now I want to be with someone who is aware of their patterns and their fear when it comes up and wants to own it and look at it.
yeah. And imagine if that were one of the conversations that one has when they enter into an intimate relationship is like really knowing like where do you go when you're scared? Are you a fighter, a fleer, a fawner?
Yeah.
Where freeze, and then we're going to obviously see this, but to be able to have these like I want to be with a partner who's willing to talk about these things and acknowledge, and I can actually share where I'm at, say, hey, I'm feeling like I want to pull away from you right now. I'm feeling like I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling insecure or whatever, just really being honest. Like if you can share the most vulnerable places of yourself, like that's where the really beautiful, tender, I imagine, is available. And if we're trying
Yeah.
to hide those vulnerable places from ourselves and we're like 3 years in and two kids deep and like, oh shit, oh, this is what's up. Once you move in, you're kind of like, hey, the furniture's here. Let me see if I, and then you start negotiating with yourself and you're attached and you don't want to have another breakup. It's just like, oh my goodness, goodness gracious.
I know. I think it's easy for people to be single. Like a lot of us just don't want to deal with the merging of lives. 'Cause it is. It's easier just to be
Yeah,
alone.
it is. And
But then we don't get that opportunity to merge with another person in that connection, that deep intimacy that is why I'm here, is to learn how to be in that and stay free and
yeah,
let them be free in
yes,
themselves.
freedom in the relationship to be who you are as you continue to develop into who you're becoming and being able to communicate that in an open way and create mutual trust and respect and love. We
Mm.
can grow being single and we can grow in relationship and we each get to choose what is true for us to and what our path in learning is without making anyone else's path wrong.
Yeah, I think in summary from this call, it's really just about noticing your truth and not being afraid to express it. And you are worthy of what you desire in a relationship. And when things aren't the way that we think they should be, or when you're not in a relationship, you're walking around feeling maybe depressed or sorry for yourself, instead turning it around like I've been doing lately and just feeling the energy of being in an expansive relationship. And how would that make me feel if I'm just walking around knowing I have this amazing man in my life and really getting into that energy? And you can even use like energy from past relationships to remind you of that feeling and use it as a beautiful blessing that is helping you to open up to what's possible and even a more expanded experience of what you experienced in the past.
So beautiful. Thank you. And it's also like to add on to that, it's like live the life that you want to live now, and then you can share that life with the other person. Don't wait for the other person to start living your life in the way that you want to live it now. Start living that life now, and then it just adds to the quality that you're already willing to experience now. It's not like anything's missing or lacking. It's like your life is beautiful and full, and you get to invite someone to walk with you in that life, and they get to invite you to walk with you in the life they've created. And like, wow. And if like attracts like, then be like the person you want to attract. Live in the way that's authentic to you, and then uh you'll recognize that person when they arrive.
Totally. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Jessica.
It's just so much enjoy. Thank you so much. I look forward to our talks.
Yeah, me too. Have a beautiful day, everyone.